Okay, when you hear the name Frankenstein, I bet you picture a big, green, lumbering monster with bolts sticking out of his neck, right? Well, the original 1818 novel, it's not really the horror story you think it is. Mary Shelley's masterpiece is actually this incredibly tragic and deep dive into ambition, rejection, and the real cost of playing God. So let's dig into its moral architecture. Right from the very beginning, the book hits you with this one central question. And, while pop culture has a pretty simple answer, Mary Shelley designed this whole story to make you second guess absolutely everything. So who is it? Is it the creature or the creator who just abandoned him? And yeah, the answer is way, way more complicated than a simple monster movie. So what we're going to do is look past that horror myth and uncover what Frankenstein really is. A totally gut-wrenching story about creation, about responsibility, and about what it even means to be human in the first place. The entire devastating story, all of the pain and the revenge, it all hinges on one single defining moment. So let's trace the steps that lead to that central tragedy. It all kicks off with obsession. You've got this brilliant, maybe too brilliant, scientist, Victor Frankenstein, and he actually does the impossible. He figures out the secret to life itself. But in the exact moment of his greatest success, he isn't filled with pride. Nope, he's filled with pure horror and disgust. So he runs. He abandons his creation the second it comes to life. And that one single act of rejection, that's the spark that lights the fuse for a devastating cycle of revenge. But what about the being at the center of all this? To really get the story, you have to understand him. And as we're about to see, he is so much more than the mindless monster we've all been led to believe. And honestly, this is where Mary Shelley's genius just shines. On the outside, yeah, the creature is a walking nightmare, a terrifying collection of parts that horrifies anyone who sees him. But on the inside, he's no brute. He is incredibly smart, he's emotionally sensitive, and he wants the exact same things we all want: a little bit of companionship, a little bit of acceptance. By putting us right inside the creature's head, by making us feel his loneliness, his pain, his desperate need to belong, Shelley just masterfully blurs that line. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves sympathizing with the monster, which forces us to ask some really tough questions about our own ideas of good and evil. So all of this brings us to the novel's most powerful argument, and it's a warning that's not really aimed at monsters, but aimed squarely at us. Now, it's super easy to read this book and think it's just anti-science, but that totally misses the point. Shelley isn't criticizing the act of discovery, she's warning us about the blind pursuit of knowledge, about ambition that has no empathy. Victor Frankenstein was so obsessed with whether he could do something, he never once stopped to ask if he should, or what he would owe the life that he so carelessly created. Shelley makes it crystal clear that the creature's violence is not something he was born with. He isn't born a monster, he is made into one. His rage is a direct consequence of his creator's neglect, his crushing isolation, and the brutal, constant rejection he gets from every single person he meets. He literally becomes a product of a world without compassion, and that's what makes his story so incredibly heartbreaking. So beyond these massive themes, what is it that gives a book that's over 200 years old such incredible, lasting power? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is just Shelley's incredible skill. The settings she uses aren't just random backdrops, Victor's gloomy lab or those vast, empty Arctic landscapes. They're practically a mirror reflecting the character's loneliness and inner chaos. Plus, she tells the story through different people's eyes, which forces us to see this whole tragedy from all sides. It just deepens our understanding and, yeah, our sympathy for everyone caught up in it. So at the end of the day, Frankenstein was never supposed to be just a simple horror story. It is a haunting, timeless exploration of our responsibility to each other, and a warning about the real monsters that can grow out of loneliness and a lack of compassion. And ultimately, this is what the novel leaves you with. It turns the mirror back on us and asks a question that feels just as urgent today as it did back in 1818. When you strip away all the ambition, our achievements, our appearances, our fears, what does it truly mean to be human?